Welcome guys, I'm your host Garlic Bread and welcome today to the first deck tech of the channel. This is a small series of 5 episodes which will see Wilson as the main protagonist. These decks will have all a different background and the main purpose of this kind of series is to see which background better suit Wilson. The first episode will see a Selesnya build with Wilson and the veteran soldier. Let's start by saying why Wilson is such a strong card. First thing first is a cheap card with great stats that cannot be countered and has 4 keywords. In his complex, it's a really hard to deal with creature that reward you to play aggressively. Like I said, in this episode we will see it paired up with Veteran Soldier, which increase his aggressivity by creating a 1/1 soldier creature token tapped and attacking whenever you swing with Wilson. Let's see also how I have built it for the first video of the channel. Well, the aims of my deck were to be a mid-game aggro deck. Mid-game because I used a lot of sustain to keep me alive, because each turn you will be able to create a token, so you will gain at least 1 life each turn if you don't drop other creatures on the board. The deck will be full of protection, because Wilson is hard to remove, but not impossible to remove. And you won't have protections even for your tokens, for the other creatures that you have on the board. You want to avoid board wipe at all costs. Then, because you play more around the mid game, you want to have creatures with higher power and eventually toughness to deal with more stronger creature. You want a way to control your opponent, especially his board, because you don't want to be punished for your excessive aggressivity. Meanwhile, you want to punish the enemy to block or try to attacking your. Let's start to showcase the main cards for sustain. So Warden, Source Attendance, and the Essence Warden are probably the best cards in the deck, which give you a lot of sustain. Then the protection can be single target or multi-target. We can see Rootborn Defenses, Tamiya's Safekeeping, Emerge Unshattered, and Offend. Like we see, the single target ones mainly point out giving Wilson protection from a color, X-proof or indestructible. While the multi-targets aim to avoid board wipes, which would make this deck go far beyond the enemy. Power-up cards, various type. You can have creatures like Veteran Swordsmith that only power up your soldier tokens, or have creatures like Angel of the Dawns, which are more general creatures. And on top of all of these, you want instants which have the same effect, more or less, of Angel of Dawn, in the sense that they are general power-up spells. With to control, we got Smite, Piercing Light, Swift Response, and Afterlife as main font of controls. Smite and Piercing Lights are mainly to avoid the target to attacking us back or blocking our creatures. With the response, in a way, can help us avoid attackers, but at the same time can help us to deal with all those creatures with a top effect. While Afterlife is generally good because it's a destruction spell which doesn't have a restriction. We don't have to forget about the ramp. We want in this case only drop once because the deck doesn't have such a high cost. Let's go now in the details of the deck. The majority of the cards in my deck are white. This is done on purpose because the majority of the cards that follow the main strategy of the deck are white, while other green cards that follow up the strategy of the deck are much less. For example, the power-up spells are mainly white. I don't think there are even a single spell for power-up multi-creatures that is green. Let me know in the comment if I'm wrong. However, we have some really crazy cards, green cards too. We have Snakeskin Veil, Ranger's Guide, which are protection spells that really help us a lot. We can see from this graph, we can see that mainly cards in general of mana cost 1 and 2. A little less of mana value 3 and a lot more the drop 5. And there is a reason behind all of this. The main responses of our deck are from drop 1 to 3, so this is where we place our protection spells and removals. Meanwhile, drop 5 are mainly creatures like Angel of Dawn and others. They are a little bit pricey, uh, although they help us a lot by pumping up our creatures and giving us a body to eventually block the enemies that will scale to into the mid-late game. A little reminder, this kind of deck is built around my lack of experience of playing fast aggro's deck is more pointed towards mid-game. You can find the list of this deck in the info box down below or in the pinned comment. Hope you enjoyed this first deck. Let me know in the comment what you think about this deck and see you next time.